Hello everyone, as with you always, this is Rich doing another video today on XRP. So I hope you're all having a wonderful day today wherever you are in this great world. We're gonna talk about XRP. And I gotta start with this. Flare CEO reveals XRP-Fi roadmap. Will XRP price follow market expectations? So part of the Flare roadmap is locking away 5% of the total XRP supply. And you see, Hugo Filion says, starting in the next couple of weeks, the next 6 months are going to be transformative for XRP-Fi through Flare. So they are still planning to lock up 5 billion XRP. And people keep saying that XRP or that Flare is dead, that it's a scam coin, and so on. King Karan points out, if you think Flare is dead, ask yourself why scammers keep impersonating it. Scammers target active communities, not ghost chains. Even they know that Flare is going to be huge. There's a reason why there is a lot of scams around Flare. Some people know how big this is going to be. Some people see how big of an opportunity this is right now. It's easy to say something is dead and something is a scam, but I think Flare is going to be a massive monster, and it's still sitting under a penny. Now's the time you stack it. If not, you will be chasing it later. Pundit predicts what XRP would be worth once it replaces SWIFT. So when XRP replaces SWIFT, it will be valued beyond $15,000 per token. The original token design allowed for such a valuation, as one XRP can be divided into 1 million smaller units known as drops. Now, this is only one way that XRP would reach those much higher price points, was to replace SWIFT. But now there are so many other ways that XRP gets to high levels in price. Look at tokenization. Look at AI agent payments that are now happening on the XRP Ledger as well. It's no longer just all about SWIFT. I do believe Ripple will replace SWIFT. I think XRP will be utilized in that process as well because of on-demand liquidity, and it's a much better fit than a stable coin. And even Paul Barron breaks down Ripple replacing SWIFT. Take a listen to this.
Is very intriguing. One other area I want to take a look at is the Faster Payments Council. This is a government entity out there. And when you go in and look in and dig into their board and the members, we have somebody else showing up. This is James Selleck, also on Ripple. So tied into Faster Payments. You look further into, this was the Federal Reserve document that goes into the Faster Payments task force participants. And I'll zoom in on that. There's Ryan Zangone. He is, of course, also with Ripple. We haven't seen a ton of companies that are in the blockchain space in here, but Ripple is there. So again, more tied into faster payments. Remember, Ripple is cornerstone of where SWIFT was over the past 35 years. Ripple is kind of that new potential of being able to move money around the world. Could they go down to the retail level and get into this is the question.
I think Ripple being positioned inside of all these different areas of the financial system already, that tells you the entire story. Even Robbie Mitchnick, who's now over there at BlackRock, I think he was deployed to BlackRock. I even think Jed McCaleb, when he went on to create Stellar, I think that was happening by design. Because look at what Stellar plans to do. They're all about remittances, person-to-person payments. Now they're getting involved with CBDCs as well. But Ripple was always focused on cross-border payments, but now they're starting to overlap with Stellar in some ways, like domestic payments and micropayments and remittances as well. Everyone thinks card payments are instant. They're not. When you swipe, the card network authorizes in about 2 seconds. That's just a promise. The actual money doesn't settle for 1 to 3 days. The XRP Ledger doesn't split to 2. Approval and final settlement happen together in 3 to 5 seconds, irreversibly. Authorization is a promise. Settlement is the money. XRP Ledger does the part that matters. What XRP does and what the XRP Ledger does is it fixes the back end issues. That's where all the problems are. You could have the greatest, shiniest app in the world for sending money, but if the back end isn't moving as fast as the front end, guess what? It's just as good as any other app. XRP Ledger and XRP fixes this. This is why they will pivot away from Swift and choose RippleNet and XRP very soon. I mean, it's already happening with some institutions. You're going to see another handful of institutions choose to use the alternative to Swift. Even when it comes to BRICS, they want an alternative already. They're already ready to ditch Swift because of sanctions and so on. Swift only has unhappy customers. Don't ever forget that. Smoke highlights XRP and XLM as leading platforms for institutional cross-border payments. You know, everybody always talks about XRP. XLM is also going to be very big. And so is XDC, and so is HBAR. All these utility-driven cryptocurrencies, they're the future. They're going to be part of the new financial system. But people always made it seem like XRP and XLM are fighting each other. They're going to be running side by side in the new financial system. I even always told people, if you own XRP, hold XLM. They tend to run together. This way, it's like double dipping on your investment. And I would absolutely stack XLM if you're already stacking XRP. But they both solve similar problems. And now they're starting to overlap more and more as time goes on. But you're also starting to see how XLM is going to play a very big role in the new financial system. XRP price prediction. Can 10,000 XRP reach $100,000 by 2027? Now, they're not saying that XRP is going to $100,000. What they're talking about is XRP going to $10. They're asking if 10,000 XRP will be worth $100,000 by 2027. I think it could possibly be worth $100,000 by the end of this year. I always tell people, think about it like this. Take and break out your phone. Take whatever XRP you're holding and times it by $10. That's minimum. I still think we're going to see $27 plus. I even think that if the Clarity Act gets signed, I think we're going to most likely see a $50 XRP, most likely by the end of this year. People would say, well, we're already in July. How the hell does that happen? It doesn't take a whole lot of money to move the price of XRP. Factor in the market cap multiplier as well. I think when the institutional money starts getting into this space, people are going to be shocked by it. It's something we never had in previous runs, and we are about to see it play out this year. All it takes is clarity first. You're taking a big risk if you're still holding your crypto on exchanges like Coinbase and Kraken. But take a listen to what Jake Claver says about Ripple selling escrow to the U.S. government.
I think they may have already done that. We've got 1,700 NDAs that were disclosed in the lawsuit with Ripple, in the lawsuit with the SEC. I do think that there's a potential that they've already negotiated a portion of the escrow to the U.S. government or the IMF, a much larger body that would govern the flow of that XRP onto the market, if it were to be institutionalized or deemed a systemically important asset. So XRP has been around. It'll be 13 years this year on June 2nd. Ripple's been around since 2014. So we're going on 10 years for Ripple, building out the ecosystem, the partnerships, the integrations, laying the foundation for this ledger and this technology to persist across the globe and be integrated with global finance. I'm pretty confident they've already had these conversations.
So what do you think? You think the U.S. government already owns a portion of the Ripple escrow? I'm going more down the line of Ripple most likely gifted the U.S. government X amount of XRP, especially with President Trump now being in the White House. Remember, the president was meeting with Ripple before he became the president the second time around. It was back in the summer of 2024. And right after that, he said that the U.S. government is not going to have a central bank digital currency. And he started pushing more towards a stable coin. DTCC, the July pilot, was a test to prepare for the big tokenization launch in October of 2026. Take a listen.
Dean, you're saying we need to get going. What is the biggest hurdle right now for you to get people into the boat and actually try these things?
We've gotten, like if any of your audience is a cook, we've got the meal part there, right? Like we've got, as I said earlier, the infrastructure, we've got the regulation, and we've got the digital cash. Now the infrastructure is the issue not right now is the overall state of readiness of these firms to start to move forward. And Mark, for 10 years, right, we have expressed a lot of frustration that we've been spending money and time and energy, yet nothing is moving. And if you look at why that was, is we sort of fragmented a market that's really had a lot of consolidation in the past, right? Like DTCC is the sole pulse trade provider in the US, but digital over time sort of fragmented that landscape because we had a lot of different firms setting up their own infrastructure. So that's hopefully coming to a point where DTCC, through our work, will hopefully act as an aggregator of data and an aggregator of liquidity and move forward. But what we did find out, though, is a lot of innovation has been done via press release over these years. And now that we're ready to move forward, I think a lot of firms are taking a step back and going, are we truly ready? Do we have the right infrastructure for wallet management? Do we have the right infrastructure for trading, risk management? So it's not the same. A lot of people felt, and Roy hinted to that in his earlier comments, there are new novel risks that will emerge from doing what we're doing. And firms have a responsibility. We are fiduciaries. We're not managing our own money. We're managing it on behalf of others. So our risk management must be super clear. Our compliance capabilities must be super clear. Holding these wallets safe is going to be, and that's what we're seeing. So that's why we broke our go-to-market approach in two. The first phase we're doing in July is really to allow the industry to test the waters, make sure that they're ready. During the summer, we'll allow them to jump into the pool and really test out all the things that they need to do, hopefully with the big launch in October. So
the big launch is going to happen in October. And I think it's going to hit the ground running. In other words, once it starts to happen, I think it's going to escalate very quickly. And even Smoke points out, Ripple Prime will push XRP directly into the DTCC's central plumbing. It was always about the plumbing. Everybody thinks that the DTCC has to come out and make an announcement around the XRP Ledger or Ripple or XRP. This was all happening in the background while most people were still staring at the daily chart years ago. This is something that was probably talked about behind closed doors before Canton was even a thought of, before they even thought about utilizing Stellar as well. If the Clarity Act doesn't pass and a financial crisis hits, the one with legal clarity will get implemented and utilized to save the day. We get wealthy, while everyone else is sidelined until 2030 when Clarity Act finally gets passed, a 4-year head start for the pain and suffering they put us through. No way we went through all this BS just for everyone to reap instant benefits. Expect the unexpected. And that comes from XR Patriot. And I would agree with that. Even if the crisis hit and we don't have the Clarity Act in place, XRP already has legal clarity in the United States. So they would still be able to utilize XRP. We already know it's never going to be deemed a security. But what the Clarity Act actually does for XRP is it opens up a massive amount of money to pour into this space. And I think it's not just going to be XRP that capitalizes on this. I think it's going to be a handful of utility tokens all going parabolic over a very short period of time. But until it all happens, stay patient, stay positive, and let's get rich together. With that said, I'm going to wrap up this video. I want to thank you all for watching. I appreciate all of you. I'll see you in the next one. Have a great night.